Whether we are there or not, ITSP Magazine still gets the best stories. Plenty of conferences and events spark our curiosity and allow us to start conversations with some of the world's brightest minds. In person or virtually, Sean Martin and Marco Ciappelli go on location and sit down with them at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Together, we discover what the synergy of these three elements means for the future of humanity.
Vroom, vroom, Marco.
You beat me this time.
I did beat you this time.
It's all about the car vroom, vroom first. I know. When we do the chats on the road, it's about vroom, vroom. Although, as I said before, and I will say many other times, this time we're not driving. We're going to fly there. So I don't know if vroom, vroom is still part of it, but I guess good.
Yeah, it's still an engine.
It's still, I hope it's not the same engine of the car.
If I'm controlling the engine, it's another story. But
oh my God, that's right.
I've not flown a plane. Yep. Actually, that's not true. Yeah, I was on a holiday once, and the guy said, "Do you want to fly the plane?" I'm like, "All right." Ask the 8 people behind us if they care.
You're not going to fly the plane when we're together. I can assure you that.
I can tell you that. No.
Well, this is
probably some rules in this country for that.
Look, it doesn't matter how you get to Vegas. You can walk if you want to, although I do not recommend that. It's quite hot in the desert. You can drive, you can fly, you can bike. And the important thing is that you make it a black hat.
You get there by August 3rd for the trainings and stay for the briefings. That's the main thing.
Yep. So this is really a traditional conversation. Yes. Is a tradition for sure. It's we were just talking with Steve Wylie before we start recording on how this is our ITSP Magazine 10th birthday, which is always marked by Black Hat USA. And like Steve, you've been there about the same amount of time.
Yeah, I think our birthdays roughly coincide. I started with my first Black Hat was 2014. So roughly about the same time. We're 10 years in, 10 years older.
But
hopefully
Black
10
Hat,
years wiser.
10 years wiser.
Yeah.
Yeah. Black Hat goes way back.
Yeah, so this is actually our 28th year of Black Hat. So it goes back to 1997. And sometimes, all of our archives are on our website. Sometimes I enjoy going back through some of those early events and seeing some familiar faces. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been at Black Hat and someone will come up to me and say, I was at the first Black Hat, and it's always been in Vegas, right? Always been there alongside DEF CON. So it's, 28 years of Black Hat history there, which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's super cool, and not as with a lot of things in tech, constant change as well, a lot of growth, I should say, as well. And I see, we'll get into some of this, I'm sure, but I see new summits this year and micro summits and all kinds of fun stuff. So we're gonna get into that, but kind of give us an overview, Steve, of what folks can expect this year, the big picture.
Yeah, big picture. So one thing's for sure, it'll be hot. That's the consistent factor with Vegas that we've grown to know and expect. So I'm just looking at the weather here, 108 degrees Fahrenheit in Vegas. So definitely dress accordingly. But the event, the Black Hat event itself, there's a lot of new things. So I would say kind of at a high level, expanded content program. And you mentioned the summits. We're doing a lot sort of on what's effectively becoming a third day of the event. The overall event is 6 days when you include all the training programs and everything that we do. But the conference itself is a 2-day conference, but we've been gradually and taking a more deliberate step this year into a third day. There'll be the Tuesday before the briefings and the business hall open up. So we've got a lot of things happening there. I would say another, which I'm sure we'll talk about, some other things that I'm excited about this year is just a lot more networking opportunities. I mean, we consistently hear from our attendees and their feedback that they love, the LobbyCon, and they want more time for interacting and more opportunities to engage with like-minded people, et cetera. So we're doing a lot of things in that regard. We've got this, meetup lounge, which we had last year as well, but we've just broadened out the lineup in there where you can meet and greet with selected speakers, some more notable speakers that people would love to have a sort of a more intimate exchange with, taking place in the meet and greet lounge. We're doing track chair meet and greet, so you can talk to the folks that organize the track and understand a little bit more about kind of what they were seeing and key themes and that sort of thing. So a lot more of that sort of planned and unplanned networking opportunities. We've got our day zero program, that happens on the day before the main event, and that's sort of an introduction to Black Hat and a great opportunity, especially for newcomers to the event, to really acclimate themselves to what the event entails and how to spend their time to make the most use of their time there. So that's back again this year. We change that up each year, try new things. So all in all, just a lot of great opportunities to connect with others.
Yeah, you got the know before you go. I'm looking on the website because it's important. It could be intimidating. I always remember the first time that Sean dragged me there, and I was like, okay, where are we going now?
Yeah.
and it's been growing and growing and growing since. So what do you think that is, what are you really excited this year compared with last year? Is it the theme? Is it the conversation that are going to happen, or what is it?
Yeah. So, I've done this with you guys a few times, so I've kind of know generally kind of the direction you're going to go. And I always spend a lot of time on the Black Hat website preparing for this conversation. And yeah, I mean, I always, you guys know me, I will always come back to the content program. It's what Black Hat's known for, right? So that's generally is always the part that I get the most excited about. And once again, that's the part that I'm most excited about this year. I mean, every year, I've been doing this 10 years now, every year you kind of get an early peak when we do the call for papers, and you just see the volume of submissions that comes through, and every year that just keeps getting bigger. And every year our review board gets bigger to try to manage all the volume of call for papers submissions that we get. It's rigorous. I mean, it's really rigorous, but you get like that early insight into, is this going to be a good year? There's going to be some great stuff here. And there's so many great sessions. I'm sure we'll dig into some of those as well, but there's just a lot this year to get excited about in the conference. So that's good. I am, excited about the conference expansions that we've done as well. So these summit programs that we're running on the Tuesday prior to the main event, all go into some, important topical areas, and are geared a bit more towards a managerial audience, right? So the briefings are, as you guys know, very technical, very in the weeds for the most part. Our summit programs are by design going to be more targeted at a managerial and up audience. We've got some new ones happening this year. So we've always had the CISO Summit that's been around for about 10 years now, and that's always very popular, always sold out, and it's exclusive to CISOs. This year we're adding an AI Summit into the mix, which is going to be very popular. We're adding a summit on innovators and investors. So really looking at, there's the money is flowing again back into cybersecurity from an investment standpoint and startups. That's great to see, great to hear. So we really wanted to have a program this year that was really going to be for that part of the sort of cybersecurity ecosystem. It's the entrepreneurs, it's the VCs, it's the corporate development people, it's the CISOs themselves, the ones that ultimately will be buying these solutions. So Innovators and Investor Summit, that's brand new. That's happening on that Tuesday. I'm really excited about that. We have our Omdia Analyst Summit. That's really our own analyst firm, Omdia, and their insights into what's happening more on the vendor side of things from vendor developments and key developments there. So that's back again. We've got a new Industrial Controls Summit that we're launching this year, really digging into more of the operational technology side of things. SCADA systems, et cetera. So that's brand new. We're bringing back our Cyber Insurance Summit. So just, again, a lot of great extensions to the main conference, the Black Hat briefings, which is will always be sort of that very technical, cutting edge, research-based program that it's known for.
Yeah, and then pretty much anybody I speak to, when I talk about the content at Black Hat, the feedback has always been really good, deep technical, research driven, no fluff. You're gonna learn something that's valuable and applicable to whatever program you're trying to run. And I love these summits as well because like the CISO summit. Sadly, I don't get to go to those, but no, I don't want to be a CISO, so I won't be able to go to those. But I guess the point I want to make is with some of the summits is you do up level them to be higher level program oriented, business oriented, operationally oriented. And I think it's a good way for the two groups to come together, right? So the bottom up, technical, tactical, operational, mixing with the operational, business, economical, policy, that kind of stuff. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
yeah.
I need to get on with some of the analysts to talk about what's going on at the analyst summit.
Absolutely. There's always a wealth of information there. Yeah, you bring up a good point, Sean. I mean, I think AI is a good example. We've launched this new AI summit. We've had an AI track in the briefings for years, right? So it's not a new topic for Black Hat, but there's a very different lens on the AI sessions that are going to find their way into the briefings program versus the AI summit, which, as you said, it's been up leveled. There's a lot of big things to think through, around AI. That's what we really aim to address in the AI summit. It's protecting the AI. It's, how is AI being leveraged both by adversaries and by our vendors and our internal teams. It's like an AI, arms race. Who's going to be quicker by leveraging advances in AI. So there's a lot of sort of, bigger picture things to discuss there. That's never going to be sort of the type of content that we would put in the briefings, which is always really more of that technical deep dive into the research.
Yeah, and you mentioned how the focus on networking. I mean, that's why we go to conference, right? We go to chat with people, to reconnect, and to meet new one. And as time goes by, there's a lot younger people than us, which is a great thing. But I like the fact you have also like a meet and greet with the speakers so people can get to know them. And then, of course, keynotes and anything that stand out there. That's another question that will come from me, like who's keynoting and who else do you want to highlight?
Yeah,
this is the name your favorite child spot.
Name your favorite child. Oh boy.
Not that way, but everybody is important.
I think that's probably another big development this year. Is I think we've taken some different direction this year with our keynote program. We generally have a traditional keynote. The person that starts off the event with the talk. And this year, so it kind of goes. This year, our opening keynote is actually a panel discussion. So, and it goes back to, and it's all on sort of defending democracy, right? The big year for elections, and it's a big topic for us, around the world, right? So this goes back to actually Jeff Moss when he was introducing Black Hat Asia in Singapore this past year, made the comment that this year over half of the world of democratized world will be going to the polls. So it's an unprecedented thing where you've got so many kind of big democracies going to the polls this year. And you've also got sort of this, like, there's new and different threats to that democratic process, right? And AI being one of those, right? We're yet to see really how AI will be leveraged, on top of the things that we've, been seeing in elections around, disinformation, misinformation, that sort of thing. So we asked ourselves the question: well, who's the person that can really address this phenomenon that is we've got half the world going to the polls, and concluded that that's not really a single person. It's really it's a government by government issue. But we thought there's probably tremendous value in bringing some of the leaders across these different governments together to really talk about this as an issue. So we've put together, I think, a fantastic panel that I think I'm especially excited to see how this one comes together. It'll be a moderated panel. So we've got a reporter from AP, Christina Cassidy. So she's the person with Associated Press that covers all of the national election and election security, those sorts of things. So she's going to host it. We've got Jen Easterly, the CISA director for the United States. We've got Hans de Vries, chief cybersecurity and operations officer for the European Union. We've got Felicity Oswald, CEO at the UK's National Cybersecurity Centre. So it's going to be, three prominent leaders within their respective governments dealing with this in an unusual year. And I think that will be probably a different twist for Black Hat, but I hope really a useful way to kick off the conference.
Yeah,
it's a really, really cool panel, and definitely caught my attention. And you mentioned Jeff as well, who also has a keynote with Moxie. Can you tell us a little bit about what that's going to be about?
Yeah, that's another, a little bit of a left turn for us. We don't usually do fireside chats as keynotes, but we wanted this one to be a bit more discussion based. So, Moxie, of course, he's the founder of Signal, has played such a prominent role with the Signal protocol, and really that's the protocol that is leveraged by a lot of the messaging apps, Facebook, WhatsApp, Google Messenger, etc. All leverage that. So he's one of those big thinkers in privacy, and people want to hear from him because he's played such an instrumental role in the development of privacy across what a lot of the modern tech that we're all using today. So really. It's going to be a different format, more of a fireside chat with Jeff, where they can dig into some of the things that are on Jeff's mind around privacy. Those trade-offs between privacy and security is a big one. How do we shape privacy topics in the future as well would be something that will be covered as well. Safeguarding personal information, in this sort of modern era, there's a lot of good topics there that we want to dig into, and we're real excited to hear from Moxie because he's not a guy that tends to be out speaking on the public circuit much. So that's a nice addition to our lineup this year.
Yeah, Sean shared with me this morning a post from Jeff that was very, very profound about political situations and protecting the election, and so I'm sure it's gonna be good. And I love to see the fact that it's funny because we actually had another speaker today that is going to be there, a Black Hat, and it was about social politics and international relationship and how different country grades from a cybersecurity stance and readiness and resilience. And so the fact that you also have Jen again talking on the main stage, and you have the National Cybersecurity Director for the Office of the President. So it's not just AI, although I see Ann and Johnson has shared the repo talking about that. But the point is the complexity and the fact that cybersecurity touch all our life nowadays.
Yeah.
And I love to see how the conference has always been ahead, of course, always been Black Hat ahead of the game, and keep doing that. So I love to see that.
Marco, are you referring to this session caught my attention as well? It's the one that a gentleman from Harvard or a few folks from Harvard that caught my attention as well.
Fred Hayden,
I'm really interested to see what the findings are in that one, just for the audience. So this is
he wouldn't tell us. He wouldn't tell us.
I mean, so you asked them.
we'll have to.
No, we didn't. Of course not.
So they're looking across the U.S., China, UK, Germany, South Korea, Singapore, UAE. So big countries, and looking at their cybersecurity approach to national defense, and a bit of as I understand it, a bit of a grading system. On who's doing what well and who comes out on top. So I think that one, it's a super interesting topic, but I think more interesting for me will be hearing the results from that. So that's one I plan to attend for sure.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be packed, that one.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Are there any tracks that, because I mean, when you just throw AI in the mix and it kind of swallows up stuff. We talk about election and misinformation and kind of that big bubble, and it kind of swallows up stuff. How do some of the other tracks hold up,
Yeah.
given some of those big things? Are there any new ones? Are there any that have fallen off that get bundled up in somewhere else? Tell us about what's going on with the tracks.
Yeah, the tracks kind of tend to morph a little bit. Nothing major changes there, but I'm always sort of interested in this topic as well. Like, as the program's coming together, where is the sort of concentration of research? Is it around mobile? That's we've seen years where there's a lot of mobile talks. I would say, kind of just in reviewing, there's 100 plus sessions, right? So it's a big program, always is. It goes wide, right? But I think you could certainly say that AI. Yes, there's a lot of AI, but I'm actually very proud of the AI program because it is the most hyped thing right now in tech. But like, I think our review board did a great job of really pulling out some gems and providing some AI talks that are going to be very, very useful and necessary. So I'm excited by that. I think there was also quite a lot around cloud vulnerabilities. So as a theme, at least that was my take on it this year. There seems to be a lot of that. That kind of ebbs and flows. Sometimes we get a lot of cloud, sometimes we don't. A lot of times the cloud systems they tend to be a bit insular, obviously, so we don't have a lot of insight. So to me, it's always nice when we get a good year of cloud talks, because it means that the cloud, whether it's the cloud providers or the customers of the clouds, are talking more about what customers need to be thinking about. And at this point, most of our systems are running on cloud-based environments, so that's super critical. And there was one talk that caught my eye around just sort of not treating the cloud like a black box. Like, you really do need to understand what's happening there from a security standpoint for your own enterprise as well. So I think that was probably the other one that was the most interesting for me, is just the number of cloud sessions.
Mm-hmm. And my last question, I don't know if Sean has one more, but he usually does, so I count on it.
Of course.
My last it's actually about the startup spotlight competition, because it's a third year, and I think a nice little healthy competition is always a good thing, and especially when it highlights the up and coming new solution and startup company. So can you tell us something about that one?
Yes. So we're going to up-level the Spotlight competition this year. As you said, it's our third year doing it. And each year we want to get it, bigger, better, more, and a more, prominent part of Black Hat. And I would say that's probably one of our biggest, areas of focus this year, is really having a much more robust program around the whole startup and investment ecosystem. So it starts with the Innovators and Investors Summit that we launched, right? So that's a full one-day summit, really, bringing together all of those constituents that care about that part of the cyber ecosystem. It's the innovators, the entrepreneurs themselves, the VCs, the corporate development people, the companies acquiring these businesses, and it's the CISOs, the actual practitioners that are the ones that are buying these solutions. So the Innovators and Investors Summit, and then we've got the Spotlight competition happening that same day at night. We've up-leveled that by putting it into one of a proper room, versus it used to happen on the business hall. Now it'll happen in a briefing room with a bigger production right after Innovators and Investors. And then, of course, we've also always had the startup zone on the floor. So really trying to build an entire program around that, and they're all integrated. The four finalists for the Spotlight competition are being given the chance to speak at the Innovators and Investors Summit. They are being given complimentary space in the startup zone on Black Hat's floor as winners for the Spotlight competition. So I think, definitely look for that overall arching program just to get bigger each year. We really want to dig into that. And again, as I mentioned earlier, especially as investment money is now flowing back into cybersecurity startups, which it hadn't been for a while. So that's really good to see.
So I want to, in my final question here, is to the type of audience that we expect. Because Well, the past few months, I've had a lot of conversations where the CIO has been a role that's come up quite a bit in connection with security. So I could say they might be in the AI summit. They might find themselves in the CISO summit with their CISO peer. But talk to me a bit about kind of the business level. Do you see attendees expanding beyond just pure security? So that's kind of the first part of the question. And then the other part is the level of experience with cybersecurity, maybe still in the same theme of, I mean, we saw bad stuff happen last week that was from cyber impacting IT. So I think there's a broader or a deeper connection with IT and cybersecurity as well. So talk to me a little bit about the audience and the attendees beyond just pure cyber, and do you see much there?
I think the trend that we've seen is more not that our cyber audience is broadening, but more that there's more people from IT that need to be more in tune with cybersecurity, right? I say this to the Black Hat team all the time. Cybersecurity touches everything. Every facet of our modern life is affected by by cybersecurity, and so therefore it affects all jobs within the enterprise. So you're seeing more people coming from the IT side of the house that need to be absolutely plugged into what's happening in cybersecurity. So I see that as a good thing. That's sort of the long argument about the lack of coordination, cooperation between IT and security, and clearly that the results, the issue last week is a good example of that, where they need to be more coordinated. Obviously, there still is, in cybersecurity, there still is a massive job gap. So ISC Squared puts out a really good report on jobs every year, and even though the workforce is growing at this tremendous rate in cybersecurity, the gap of unfilled jobs is actually growing faster than the workforce itself. So I think it's more of that you're seeing other people from other walks of life, largely IT, needing to come in and be a part of that cybersecurity workforce as well.
Well, the universe is expanding, so we're not catching up with that. If that's an excuse, I don't know if we can apply physics to cybersecurity, but anyway. Well,
there we go.
I'm
going to close with two shout outs because they're always my favorite. The first is Arsenal. Always a good collection of tools that come from really smart people. And the other is the knock. Go see the team in the knock and see how a very active network is managed and protected. Grifter and team, I'm sure, would love to see you there. So those are my two shout outs to stuff we didn't talk about yet.
Grifter and Bart and Steve Fink, and those guys are doing a briefing again, and it's become one of the most popular sessions, right? It's the Tales from the Knock, where they're really looking at kind of some of the actual activity from the week and what they've been dealing with in defending Black Hat from the world, and probably from itself as well. So that's always a great one, and we always put that sort of towards the end of the week. It's a great way to round things off.
Yeah. Yep. I love it.
All righty then.
Well, I'm so excited to be there and see everybody, and to see you, Steve, and hear some of these chats and conversations. And always a good time in Vegas with the Black Hat team. So thank you for pulling it together and for sharing a few minutes with us to give us the highlights of this year's event.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys, and I'll look forward to listening to some of the other interviews as we lead up to the event. I always enjoy those, so thanks for continuing to put those out and getting some good speakers on. Really enjoy it.
Yep,
absolutely. And for everybody, stay tuned, because as we have many before the event, we are actually starting to get pretty booked for the event itself. So we're excited. We're going to be running around, and if you see us, just wave and say hi. And of course, Steve, I'm looking forward to say hi to you in person. Thank you, everybody. Subscribe. Stay tuned. If you cannot make it to Vegas, ITSP Magazine is the way to enjoy black hat as well, at least from our own perspective.
But get there. It's worth it.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Sean and Marco's on-location event coverage conversations. Please take a moment to give the show a good rating and leave a comment. Remember to share this podcast with your friends, family, and colleagues. Come back for more conversations and follow Sean Martin and Marco Ciappelli as they continue their journey toward redefining cybersecurity and society.